Here is our garden last week. Now, even though it is covered with a blanket of snow, there are air pockets that trap heat, which insulates the plants and the ground. And when all this melts, it'll provide moisture for the soil in our plants that are free from chemicals that are normally put in tap water. In this video, I'm going to go over 14 cold hardy crops that you can plant in spring and fall, and I hope that you enjoy it. Happy gardening! Hi everyone, Miss Stella here, Learn to Grow. I hope that you guys are having a great week. So the snow finally melted, and so today I'm going to take you on a walk throughout the garden to show you cold hardy crops that survived the snow, some in row covers and some just out in the garden. So these crops are very resilient. They are semi-hardy crops. Some are even hardier. Most are semi-hardy crops, which means that they can tolerate light frost and air temperatures between 28 to 32 degrees Fahrenheit, and a couple of them can tolerate even lower temperatures. Also, these cold hardy crops can be planted for your spring garden, and some of the seeds you can sow between 2 to 4 weeks before your last spring frost. So here is that row of kale and garlic under that blanket of snow, and they look okay. Now some of the leaves did suffer frostbite, but not too bad. All the new ones are looking great and healthy. And also kale is hardy all the way down to about 15, even 10 degrees Fahrenheit. And let's take a look at the tree collards. Merit tree and purple tree collards. These are hardy to about 20, even down to 15 degrees. Let's walk over this way. These are Arugula, no row cover, so they were unprotected, and they look okay. Arugula is hardy to about 22 degrees. And this one is the only survivor of the Portuguese kale that I planted or sowed from seeds last summer. The squirrels dug up everything on this bed. I'm going to go over on this side. We have some leeks. Leeks are hardy to 20 degrees, although if you plant them this spring, you have to wait till your last average frost date. The soil cannot be frozen, so make sure it's workable and the soil has warmed. Also have some red-veined sorrel. Now, sorrel is actually an herb, but we use them like vegetables, like for salads and soups. And these are hardy all the way down to negative 20 degrees, which is, I believe, zone 4 and up. And by the way, this is a perennial plant. So once you plant them, they'll come back every year for you. Just want to show you some of the winter sown lettuce seeds that we sowed under containers about 3.5 weeks ago. As you can see, they look all right even under all that snow. When you are using this method called winter sowing, the plants will naturally germinate as the ground warms up, and they can become more resilient and even hardy. So when they are exposed to the adverse conditions outdoors, it makes them tougher and sometimes even more resilient to diseases or pests. They look great even after all that snow. Some of them are outside of that plastic container. I didn't get them all under it. So they are pretty resilient, and in fact, the seeds can even germinate in soil temperatures as low as 40 degrees. And when you're sowing lettuce seeds, you don't necessarily have to cover them up completely because they actually benefit from the light in order to break seed dormancy. So I don't really bury them. In fact, I just press them down into the ground or just sprinkle lightly with some soil. Let's take a look at the winter sown vegetables. Most of these are brassica that had already sprouted, and they look fine. They survived all that snow and cold. Look at that. This one is scarlet kale. So pretty. Here's the bed that was covered with snow. Let's take a look. So we have some charred, some frost damage there. Wow, they look beautiful. I think they look really good. Now, charred is hardy to about 20, even all the way down to 15 degrees. So this makes a great spring, fall, and winter crop. These are Egyptian walking onions, part of the oleum or onion family, and they are perennials to zone 3, which is about negative 35 to negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, they are really good at self-propagating. The slender bulbs in the ground multiply, and their top sets that grow these bulbils will drop to the ground just like these, and then they'll sprout. So it's a good idea to contain them or put them in their own little garden box because they can take over an area. Now let's take a peek at the 1,000-head kale seedlings that sprouted back in early fall. So they survived all that snow, and I also have some Russian kale on the other side, but they look great. Here is another perennial onion plant. These are evergreen bunching onions, and they are hardy all the way down to zone 3, so -35 to -40. Now some might not be as hardy depending on the variety. And what's great about these is the ones that you buy at the store can be regrown. And if they end up to be true bunching onions, they will come back every year. Now, some of the green onions sold at the stores are actually the biennial immature onion or bulbing onion that are harvested before the bulbs form. Another low tunnel, got some Russian kale, charred, some arugula, and I think we have Claytonia and mosh on the other side, so we'll go ahead and take a look over there. Here are some mosh, Claytonia. These are both hardy to 0 to -10. Now, if you were to grow Claytonia in a cold frame, it can actually tolerate temperatures all the way down to about -30. Here's another cold hardy perennial. This is rhubarb. Now, this needs to be planted when the soil has warmed, so sometime in the springtime. And these crowns were actually buried in the snow. So they're hardy to around 25 degrees, so not below that though. Now, rhubarb is only grown for its edible stalks, not the leaves. The leaves are poisonous and contain high amounts of oxalic acid that can make you very sick. The stalks are tart and are great in pies, crisp, jam. Now, I'm sure there are many recipes, and my mom actually made rhubarb liqueur before. And this variety here is called Victoria. This bed is planted with music garlic. It is a hardneck variety, and you guys know we love to grow and eat them, of course. Now, I'm only showing you garlic because it is actually a perennial crop and hardy all the way down to -30 or zone 4. Now, if you were to leave a bulb in the ground from the previous season, it'll sprout in the springtime or earlier in my case, because we live in a mild climate. I'm in zone 8B. And if you wanted to, you can separate that bunch of cloves that sprouted. I actually have one in the other bed, so I'll show you that. Here are a couple of bulbs that were left in the ground from last season. Now, sometimes they are accidentally left in the ground and we don't get to harvesting them. And so this is what happens, is they naturally emerge when the conditions are suitable. So you can see there are multiple sprouts here. So this is a whole garlic bulb. Now, you can separate them if you like. I'm going to just leave them as is, and I've harvested them like this before. Although the only negative thing about leaving them together from experience is that the bulbs are smaller, because when you're leaving them in bunches like this, they don't have as much space to grow, and they do fight for moisture and nutrients. So we'll just go ahead and let them grow like this naturally, and we'll harvest them in July. So I'm about to lose daylight, but just want to show you these elephant garlic volunteer plants, which most likely emerged from garlic corms. Corms are the bulbils that grow at the root zone of the elephant garlic, which are like garlic seed. And when your elephant garlic grows from a corm, it takes 2 seasons for them to mature. So the first season, I'll be harvesting a bulb that looks like an onion. You can leave that in the ground or harvest it and plant them again in the fall. So you won't be harvesting a full mature head until its second season. So I forgot about these beets. These were sown last fall. These are semi-hardy as well, and they can tolerate temperatures between 28 to 32 degrees. Here is the front garden. You can see the tulip bulbs are starting to emerge. So excited. Oh yeah, they're over there too. I'll zoom in. It looks like some of the other bulbs are starting to emerge as well. We have some daffodils, allium, hyacinth, crocuses, so can't wait to show you. Oh my gosh, it looks like these yellow crocuses are starting to emerge. Look at that. That means spring is near. Here are the leafy greens that were buried with snow. They look so good. Charred. Dinosaur kale. More charred. Looks like these are about to... Oh, they are bolting. And these are some onions that we planted last fall. The saffron crocuses look great. They are generally hardy to -10 or zone 6. I am so excited to see these blossom. Hopefully by next fall. So I have one more crop to mention. This is sea kale or Crombie maritima. It is part of the brassica family, and it is a cold hardy perennial vegetable green all the way down to -10 to -20 or zone 5. Now before you plant them, they need the cold stratification or subjected to cold and moisture in order for the seeds to break dormancy. So that's why I am going to winter sow them. So I'm just using a pre-moistened potting mix, organic potting mix, and I'm going to be putting 4 seeds per container. These are the 1 gallon water jugs. So here are the seeds. They're actually almost as big as pea seeds. So the seed depth should be 2 times the diameter or the width of your seed. So that's about 1/2 inch deep. So we'll just put 1 in each planting hole, then we'll bury them up. So we just close them up, and I forgot my duct tape, but usually I tape it right on one side. If you live in a colder climate, it's a good idea to tape it all the way around to keep the heat in. The tops are left off to allow ventilation and moisture in. And also, the bottle will produce some condensation, which will keep the soil moist. Now, if you live in a drier area, it's a good idea to water overhead to get some water in there. And don't forget to put your label. I usually put them inside, just like that. And I'll be taping this up. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for joining me. Happy gardening!